Hey everybody, Glenn here. So before we get into today's episode of Checking In with Anthony and Glenn, I wanted to say this. If you're listening to this, well then so are your potential customers. So now is the perfect time to advertise on Checking In with Anthony and Glenn. We're right in between a couple of sets of different advertisers, so I just wanted to take today's message to say to you that this is a great time for you to invest in our podcast so we can invest in you and your business and help you drive sales, increase awareness, and get people to follow you. So why don't you just drop me a line? I'm Glenn at rouse.media. That's GLENN at ROUSE.media. And I'll be able to help you. Oh, and if that's not enough to get you involved, a couple of times last month, the Checking In with Anthony and Glenn podcast was in the top 200 of every single podcast of the United States. That's right. We were competing against Joe Rogan podcasts. We're competing against NPR's podcasts, all of the Gimlet Media podcasts, all the How Stuff Works podcasts, all of those shows. We are now in the same breath as them from time to time, and it is no better time for you to get your advertising message out. So drop me a line, and let's talk, and let's make it happen. And now, let's check in with Anthony, hey, and me, Glenn.
It's Checking In with Anthony and Glenn, teaching you to be the hotelier that you wanna be. It's Checking In with Anthony and Glenn.
Anthony.
I really want to put this sucking candy in my mouth because I really, really need it because my mouth's dry.
Yeah.
And you put us on the podcast as I was about to do it.
Well, you could suck away on that. But the good thing is it was a complimentary candy here at the Garden City Hotel where we're recording today. And by the way, I'm always excited to be here working with my friend and co-host partner, Anthony Melchiorri. It is so great to see you and watch you struggle trying to unwrap a candy right now.
You know what's so great about that? As I was struggling to unwrap it, I said, "He's so good, he's going to pick it up and he's going to mention it." like when I used to work with Blanche Garcia, my designer on How It's Impossible,
right.
She always nailed it. Like if you said something, she would just nail it.
I love doing this, and I love being here at the Garden City Hotel. And besides the delicious candies that they give us every single time, man, you remember when they used to bring us like plates of food and stuff like that? We had to actually tell them stop being so amazing to us because we're not going to be able to eat it all. We're not going to be able to drink 3 gallons of coffee. But one thing I hope everybody does is come out here for Thanksgiving, guys. Don't bother cooking or dealing with all of that. They've got a great Thanksgiving grand brunch buffet served 4 times at 11, 11:30, 2, and 2:30 for only $99 per person. What a great opportunity that is because all of it is from Chef David Burke. And you guys know you love Chef David Burke out there. So come on down to the Garden City Hotel. Check them out at gardencityhotel.com. But today, I know I don't sound like it right now, Anthony, but I'm having a hard time today. I'm having a hard time having everything come out of my mouth very fluidly. I'm having to really focus really hard. I'm having to put a lot of mental energy into stuff today, which is very different than some days when I feel like I've tapped into that zone, right?
Do you think of the acid flashbacks from high school coming?
No, because I didn't do acid in high school, but I did shroom a lot in college. Maybe for Tell Me Something I Don't Know, we'll talk about my the acid experience I had with the Grateful Dead in Kentucky in 1993. But you'll have to tune in to the end of the show for that. But I will tell you this, Anthony, I'm having a hard time tapping into the zone today, and that's really what I want to talk to you about today. Now, we've talked about understanding your personal brand and being your authentic you, but once you understand your personal brand, and once you are your authentic you, everything isn't always absolutely perfect. Getting up some days, things come so fluidly and easy. Some days, Anthony, I'm on stage doing a presentation or a panel, and I'm not actually there. Yeah, I'm on stage, I'm talking, but I'm kind of out of body, watching from above as things sort of happen, right? I'm not focused on it and directing it. Sometimes I'll say something like, damn, how did you come up with that? That was really cool. Today is not that day. Today is the opposite, where everything feels like it's a lot of effort. It's a lot of work. I feel like in an earlier conversation that we had today that I'm spending a lot of time having to think and focus and pay attention in such a way that I'm not performing to the ability that I think I could perform on, although that might not be noticeable to people out there. So I really want to talk about that internal thing and how you managed to find that place.
My friend who I work out with, Vincent, recently started some kind of program where he's breathing. And you've seen these people in the park, usually older Asian people breathing and doing what is that called?
Tai Chi.
Tai Chi. And you always look at them and like, well, that's kind of weird, right? And I don't know what he's doing, but he's doing a lot of breathing exercises. And I see a complete change. He's a great guy, but he's always a little bit more in his head than he was kind of just a kind of social guy and really excited and positive. He was always positive, but a little bit more subdued. And all these breathing and going into the cold ocean and the cold showers has really kind of got him out of himself and is really kind of changing. So he's incorporated breathing into our workouts, like heavy breathing. And I've really incorporated in the last week or two. It's funny you ask this question because I get into my head. And right now, because I'm working on, if I wrote it down, I probably, without kidding, I'm probably working on 10 things right now.
Right.
Literally 10, maybe more. And every single one of them, not one is just screwed in tight. Mm-hmm. Everything is kind of either starting, but nothing is really screwed in tight.
Right.
And I wouldn't say it's giving me anxiety, but I'm a guy that needs to know. I need to know. And so I guess it's giving me a little bit of anxiety. So I've incorporated breathing. Because even when people say I look like I'm normal, whatever, my head is spinning and I'm like a little nervous and all that stuff. So I just breathe through my nose and then let a big breath out. And I do it sometimes 10 times, sometimes more. Sometimes you just go in the corner and I breathe. But it's really kind of calmed me down. It's really kind of calmed my brain down. So that's kind of what's helped me. Like
right.
Even I would say a couple times a week where I just feel kind of out of sorts.
Mm-hmm.
I go into these deep breathing exercises, and even when I'm working out now, yesterday I was doing in the gym. He had me doing 5 pretty heavy squats, and I used to breathe like when I was done. I used to like just gas out. And now I'm just doing really heavy breathing. You ever watch Serena Williams play tennis, mm-hmm. and you hear her making that noise?
Yeah, a lot of the tennis players.
I always thought that noise was just pressure and stress.
Right.
What that noise is she's letting out her breath. Every time before she hits the ball, she's taking a deep breath, and then when she hits it, she's letting out her breath. I didn't know that.
Right.
I didn't realize that. I just thought I can't watch her because I love her. I think she's magnificent.
Right.
I think she's wonderful. I think she's great. She's everything that she wants to be. One of the greatest tennis players to ever live, right? But I can't stand that noise. But that noise is her breath.
Right.
So when he asked me recently, he said, let it out. He goes, it's okay, make noise. And I'm like, I'm not a noise breath maker. But I was letting him out, and then yesterday I was actually letting out deep breaths, and it was making a lot of noise.
Right.
But not that I was trying to make noise. So to me, to answer your question, to kind of try to empathize with what you're feeling, breathe.
Yeah, right. And I think it's a constant struggle. One thing I don't have trouble with, though, is the breathing, because I'll be up on stage and I'll be like, okay, so, RevPAR is going to be up 0.8% this year. Ugh! And then I'll be like, such and such. Ugh! I like to do those breathing things. Just joking. But
you didn't react to my breathing. Do you not think that
No, I
breathing
do
would
think
help
it's
you?
great. And I do think it's great. And I want to use that as an entree point into the next part of the discussion. I think we've acknowledged that some days you are amazing out there. Everything comes effortlessly, while other days you're slogging through the mud mentally, and it's so much more challenging. So for me, and I know that I've reached a level of expertise in what I do. I'm confident in what I do. So it's not an issue of anymore being confident as to whether or not I will have something to say on the microphone or on stage. It's become more about creating the scenario so I will have that pitch perfect mental state. And that's where your breathing part comes in. It's part of that preparation, part of that focusing that helps you get into the zone. And that's why I want to talk about tapping into the zone and the strategies that we use to be able to make your job, once you are in it, more effortless.
Well, I think one of the reasons you're feeling out of sorts, and you mentioned it privately before we went on air, is that you worked this weekend.
Yes.
Right? I think that you need downtime. Everyone needs downtime. And I think what I try to do well is I try to give myself a lot of downtime. And one of the things we've spoken about is that we've got to give ourselves time. I don't mean time to relax, but time to be successful. Time for things to kind of air out and get you where you need to go. I believe if you can throw a ball 90 miles an hour and you take care of your arm and you do your right exercises and you do your breathing exercises and you're calm and you pace your arm and you pace getting to the next level, you'll be a Major League Baseball player. But there's a lot of people that throw 90 miles an hour and never get there because they're pushing too hard. There's a young man right now in boxing, Ryan Garcia, who won this weekend, and he's a young, good-looking, one of the best-looking boxers you'll ever see. And they're saying he's the next big thing. And he's got 3 million followers. Most of them are young female girls that love him. And people think he's just a joke. They think he's just a skinny kid that had a couple of fights that were people that he could beat, and he just had a really big fight in Vegas under the Canelo card. If you don't follow boxing, I apologize, but Canelo is one of the biggest boxers of our generation, and he was on that card right underneath his fight. He fought, and Ryan Garcia beat a real strong opponent, and now he's got 2 belts. And someone said, well, who is your next opponent? Are you going to go for so-and-so and so? He goes, I'm going to do this at my pace. I don't know if I'm ready for those guys, but I'm going to do it when I feel like I'm ready to do it. And I think as your phone goes off and we hear that in the background, I'll explain that what's important is that he understands he's got to give himself time and he's got to pace it out. Yes, he won a belt. Yes, he's starting to make a lot of money. Yes, he has 3 million visitors. Everybody loves him, followers. But he is now understanding that he's got to give himself time and pace. And I think that is so critically important to success, is that you can't push it, you can't want it more than it wants you.
Right.
Does that make sense?
No, that...
and I think you're in a situation, if I can just kind of
please continue.
In watching you and being your friend, and we've just kind of celebrated our friendship this morning at breakfast, we realized our partnership has really come into a real friendship. And one of the things that I'll say is, and I've said it to you privately, is that you have become the face of our industry internally. I've become the face of our industry externally. And I wouldn't say face of the industry. That's way overstatement. But meaning people know me outside the industry and know me, recognize me, right? But you are truly kind of the internal mechanism of our industry. People want you to be at their shows. They want you to speak. They want you to moderate. They want you to do Q&As. And people know your name, and people are now hiring you. So now you're going from a guy that wanted to be involved and wanted to be the guy to the guy. You're the guy. So now you've got to scrape everything you remember of all your habits, and one of your habits being that you do everything yourself.
Yes.
And now you need to hire your assistant.
Yes.
And be that badass, because you try to be the badass for a long time. You've worked yourself into it. You're on everybody's mind when they want to hire you as a for their conferences.
Right.
So now you got to act like it. You know, one of the things my best friend who's passed away, Russell Herbie Hooks, used to say to me, and my friend David Malilli also says, it's like, I was driving a Honda Accord for a long time. Like, hey man, you got this big gig or whatever. You can't drive a Honda Accord. And I was like, no, I like Honda Accords. It's like, well, come on, you should be driving BMWs. I said, no, I like Honda Accords. And eventually I upgraded to my Volvo, which everybody knows I love. But my point being is, like, I'm going to walk into it when I'm ready. Like, if I want a nicer car and want to spend a little bit more money for a car, I'll do it. But I have to be ready for it. And I think you're in a point right now where it's there, and you've just got to make that decision and clear your mind of what it took you to get there and be that badass. That's just my opinion, and I didn't know I was going to give you advice on our podcast.
No, and I'm completely fine with that, because one of the things that I think is most important is for our listeners to understand that every single one of us has a lot of unique challenges in their lives on this never-ending road to achieving success. And whatever success is, however you define it, we all need to keep pushing forward every single day to try to make it there. And one of the things that I find, some days days, it comes really, really super easy. And I could be that superhero that you're discussing and do absolutely everything. And then there are days like today where I know I can't do
See, that's bullshit. That's
absolutely
exactly
everything.
the opposite of what I'm saying.
No, I said I feel like it. I'm not saying I should.
No. I'm going to call you out on that
Yeah.
because you made the same mistake that most people do when they're talking about things like this, in my opinion.
Yeah.
Is there's no superheroes. There's no badass person. Some days you're going to go badass. And more importantly, so I'm saying don't go badass. What I'm saying is calm yourself, breathe, give yourself time, and make those adjustments slowly to become that badass.
Right.
What people try to do is I'm going to lose weight and I'm going to go to the gym. So I'm going to start eating kale and I'm going to go to the gym 7 days a week and I'm going to work out an hour and a half and I'm going to drink 17 gallons of water.
Right.
And that lasts for 3.2 seconds.
That's right.
And they're back to their bad habits. I've always worked out, but I've always worked out calmly, slowly, and when I felt like it.
Right.
Sometimes 2 times a week, sometimes 5 days a week, sometimes 1 day a week. I need it in my life. I will die without physical activity and working out. I will die without it. Mm-hmm. And I know that about myself. But if I say, like, you know what, before I came to the podcast today, I have to go to the gym and work out for an hour,
right.
I'd be resentful. Mm-hmm. I didn't want to go to the podcast. I want to have. This morning I had crispy bacon. Mm-hmm. I had an English muffin that was really toasted. Mm-hmm. I had way too much butter on my English muffin, and I had a big fat omelet, and that's what I wanted. Now I'm not going to eat that way tonight, tomorrow, whatever. Right. But I wanted that now, mm-hmm. and tomorrow I will not be at the gym, and Wednesday I might be at the gym. And then I'll probably not be at the gym on Saturday. So that's like life.
Right.
It's like you want to be successful and you want to make the next level, but you can't eat your ice cream cone and then have an ice cream sundae and then have a steak. It doesn't work that way. And I think too many people just fill their agenda and their schedule with too much shit. And I have more shit. If you look at my social media and everything else, you're like, how's this guy keep it together? But I really feel like I don't have enough. Because I just pace myself.
Right.
I do what I want to do.
Yeah, you absolutely do what you want to do. And I think the whole...
And I have really fucking bad days. And I have days that I feel like I'm a loser. And I have field days that I can't get out of bed in the morning. And I feel like days that, you know, I can never say life sucks because I don't feel that way. But where it's like, shit, this shit's hard, man. This shit nobody understands. Nobody appreciates. And then I say, get over it, buttercup, and get the fuck up.
Totally.
And I think we all challenge that. And I think we put way too much pressure on these people who look successful.
Mm-hmm. And not only that, but we have a tendency, I think, to look at other people that are successful and create this false sense that they don't deal with the same struggles that we're dealing with internally every single day. For me, every single day is a challenge to push myself physically and emotionally to get everything done. Now, I don't want to seem like I have depression or anything like that. I certainly don't. I'm very fortunate to be wired with a very positive, optimistic type of personality. So that keeps me going. But I'm just talking about your normal bell curve of, you know, how connected to the universe we are at any single minute. And some days, I got to tell you, it's super, super easy. Some days it's really tough. And why I want to have this conversation and learn a little bit more between the two of us is what are some of the things that you do when you're not feeling completely focused to trick yourself into being focused, or at least to set up all of the dominoes so they fall in the way that you want them to when you want them to.
Gratitude. So when I'm feeling that way, I say to myself, I say self and God, thank you for letting me have the mental capacity and health to basically be miserable right now, for being upset, being concerned, being stressed out, being nervous. Like, thank you for allowing me to have that ability, that mental capacity to feel those things. Thank you for allowing me to be able to walk in a bad mood to my car. Thank you for getting me from my car to my podcast without getting into a car crash and losing my legs. Like, I live there. Like that is my life. That's where I live every day in my head. Mm-hmm. It's like, if I'm feeling bad, I'm giving gratitude for feeling bad. Like, I'm like, why not me? Like I'm having a bad day. Okay, well, you're having a bad day because that's the only way you can have good days, is to know what a bad day feels like. And I really don't have bad days, even when I have bad days. I refuse to allow myself to get that down, even when I'm really down. Right. I just because how fortunate I am to be able to do that, you know, because there's so many people. Like, tomorrow, I can get a call from you with some horrible news. You can get a call from me. Mm-hmm. It's so I just will not allow myself to feel sorry for myself, and I won't allow myself to not acknowledge I'm having a bad moment. Like, that's another thing. Like, allow it. Again, I'm just saying from me, this is the way I work.
Right.
I allow it. It's like, it sucks right now. Like, I'm not feeling really good. So I'm going to play some poker online. I'm going to go to Borgata and play some poker. I'm going to have a drink at 12 o'clock in the afternoon Sunday by the pool like I did yesterday. I just felt like it. Nobody was home. It was 12 o'clock. It was 11:59. I don't drink beer. I have a six-pack of summer. I said, you know what? 11:59 on a Sunday, nobody's home. I'm having a beer. And it's like, wait, I felt guilty about having a beer at 11:59 on a Sunday. But I had one.
Yep.
And I think we just got to breathe. We've
I know.
just got to, like, dude, we're not getting out of this alive. At the end of the day, I'm not going to remember how much money you have or don't have. I'm not going to remember the keynote speaking engagement you did or not. I'm going to remember us having breakfast together. I'm going to remember, you being kind to me. I'm going to remember, whatever it is. Like, that's what we have to understand. Our idea of what success is, and our idea of what fame is, and what our idea of comfort is, should be ours. Not should be for anybody else to judge. When you look at me, or people look at me like, oh, this guy has success, he's famous or whatever. That's their world. That's
Right.
how they see me.
Right.
They see me as a TV guy or a famous guy or whatever.
Uh-huh.
I see myself as a person that wants to live up to my word.
Right.
And like we just talked about something that I've had a kind of a problem with someone that's very close to me, a personal friend, and you asked me, how's it going? And I said, I chose friendship.
Right.
I was, I felt that person did me wrong, bad, and you know the story.
I do.
And I chose friendship.
Right.
I was like, I'm going to forgive that person because that relationship to me is more important than that person letting me down.
Right, and I think that leads to the larger point of doing stuff like that, the having an open heart and forgiveness and stuff. When you do that, it emotionally opens you up to be the best person you could be.
And it gives you control.
Right.
You don't let the outside influences, and that's really important. I don't mean to interrupt you again, but that's really important. It allows you the control.
Right.
If you're giving into that sad moment, if you're giving into that person that you felt betrayed you, but that person's important to you, you're willing to give them a break. And it gives you, so really it's selfish on my part. I'm doing it in a selfish way,
right.
Not in a way of, oh, I'm such a great person. It's like, I'm not letting you out of my life because I like you and you're important and maybe you screwed me over once. That's okay, but I'm being selfish right now.
Yeah.
And I think that's what you have to think about. It's not just, because then you're trying too hard to be a great person. I'm not a great person. I'm selfish. And I don't want those things to have control over me.
Right. First of all, as human beings, we are all selfish to some extent. And the fact of the matter is, no matter how many people you have around you, no matter how much love you have around you, this is, in essence, a solitary journey. We are the only ones we will be with for our entire
We talk
lives.
to ourselves more than we talk to anybody else.
Right. So no matter how much my mom may love me, she's not always going to be there, nor could she always be there. My family won't always be there for me. My friends can't always be there for me. And people come in and out of your lives throughout it. So basically, it all comes down to you at the end of the day. Not to sound dour or depressing, that's just the reality of it. We have great people around us, and I love having great people around me, but life can be isolated in that sense. But that's not really what I'm trying to get at. What I really want to get at is how you set the stage psychologically and by creating some good habits to have success on those days where it's rough. Now, for me, I'm not spending a lot of time before going on stage worrying about the words that I'm going to say. I think now, because like I said earlier, I've earned enough confidence in myself that no matter what happens on the microphone, no matter what happens on stage, I will be able to get out of it in some way. Maybe not as gracefully as others. Maybe I'll tell a joke that falls really flat and I'll be really embarrassed by it, but I will get out of there alive. So to me, it's a matter of creating the right atmosphere so I could find ways to tap into the zone and have that outer body experience. So before I do something important, the day before, I try very hard to make sure I have a good night's sleep. I try very hard to make sure that I don't put a lot of crap in my body. And now that I'm thinking about it, why I'm not in the zone today is because I had a little mini revolt in the house last night, and we got shitty Chinese food. And I think that might have put me off my game mentally today, and it's making me work a lot harder, and I hate having to work hard.
It's so funny you say that. I've actually banned Chinese food from my diet.
Yeah.
I used to eat Chinese food like crazy, and when I went to sushi and Japanese food, yes, I agree with you. I think what you put in your body is really, really important.
Yes.
But I think, I don't want to go too deep in this, and I think we've gone really, really deep. But I think the point that we all have to remember is if we have people that love us and have our health, everything else will work out, and we have to give ourselves a break. That doesn't mean not to be fiercely focused, as I've said over and over again, a kind killer. I'm going to get the things that I want, or I'm not. And the things that I want, I'm going to work hard for, but I'm not going to get them because I didn't work for them. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
If I don't get something I want, it's because it just didn't work out, not because I didn't work hard enough. And I think when people do that, when people work really, really hard for something that they don't get, they can forgive themselves. It's when you don't get what you want and you know deep down you didn't put yourself in that position to be successful. And that's when it starts a revolving door in your emotions where, I suck or this or
That's
that.
right.
But if you throw it out there, man, and you fail, like that 1 second of, oh, shit, I failed, and you cry or whatever, you get upset. Like the next day, you don't get up and go, I suck. You get up and go, oh, that ain't going to happen again. Like there's a commercial. I think there's a great commercial. And it shows like some Olympic athletes and professional athletes failing. Like, remember
I know exactly what you're
remember
talking
the
about.
ice skating?
It's like the kid playing baseball and he struck out. And
all of a sudden, he's the major league champion.
Yes, right.
So there's one specific where it was not Johnson. What was the speed skater back in the day? Dan Johnson, right? Anyway.
Dan and Dave, you talking about those
No,
two?
no,
that was something else. That was Summer Olympics. Sorry.
No, not when they failed before the Nike commercial came out. That was crazy. But anyway, if you know what we're talking about, then you know what we're talking about. And so Dan Johnson, I think, or Jensen or whatever, he was a speed skater, short track. Somebody in their car right now is listening to this, yelling his name.
I know. I hate when I listen to podcasts and they don't know the name or whatever
You're
it
like
is, and I know the
yelling the
fact.
name.
Oh, kills me.
So they showed him in like the 1980 Olympics or whatever it was, and he came in like third, and then his sister passed away, and the next day he slipped on the ice and he didn't qualify, and then the next Olympics he slipped again or whatever happened, and then all of a sudden his last Olympics he won the gold medal, and that gold medal, if he won it the first time, would be amazing.
Yeah,
but it wouldn't be as appreciative. You wouldn't appreciate it as much.
Right.
And I think that you those moments of down really excite me sometimes because it really, like, it gets me going again.
Yeah.
It's like, because I get soft sometimes. I get like I'm not, like things are okay and, like, I'm okay. And then when things get really hard sometimes, I'm like, holy shit, I got to, like, do I really got to do that?
Right.
I really got to do that when I don't really want to do it. Yes, Mr. Melchiorri. Yes, you just got kicked in the testicles, and you got to do it because 5 years ago or 10 years ago, maybe you didn't have to do it, but right now, right this second, it's a requirement for your success to do something you don't want to do. And I just think that, again, getting back to just shut your brain up and calm down and rewrite that 20-minute film in your head that we all have to ourselves, and just change it to positive thinking. So I literally wrote a red flag up and hit the emergency button when my thoughts go negative. I literally, like, a little brigade comes out and like, stop it, and instantly almost.
Right.
And I just give gratitude and thanks for allowing me to have that moment.
Mm-hmm. That's interesting. How did you train your brain to do that? Because there was a long period of time where you're doing that reflexively, and then at some point you started observing that it was happening, but then at some point even later on you were able to start to change your behaviors based on those impulses that would come into your brain.
Well, I think it comes down to, when you're a kid, whether you're in a family that's tight or family that has money or doesn't have money, you have control. People have control of you, right? And then you go to the military and people have control of you. Then you start your career and people have control of you. And then you start having some success, at least for me. And then you start, that's when it started happening. And I started having some wins and I started gaining control. And I have the ability to say yes and no to things, and I have the ability to say yes and no to a job, or I have the ability to say yes and no to a conference, whatever I want to do. So I start winning, and then all of a sudden, when I start winning, I start realizing when I do it my way, and my yeses feel good, and my no's feel even better.
Right.
Then I have control, and then when I have that control, then my choices matter because when I do say no, I may fail.
Right.
Whereas before, I had no choice; I had to say yes. So if I failed or succeeded, it was because I was in an environment where I had to say yes or no based on the surroundings. So if I work in a job and there's like, hey, you have to work Saturday and Sunday and Monday, I have to say yes.
Right.
So I have to make that successful or it fails and I have no control over that. Now if I work Saturday, Sunday, and Monday, I have control of that decision.
Right.
So I'm grateful for I'm here on a Sunday. I don't want to be here, but I made that decision. It was a mistake, but thank you for allowing me to have the control to make that decision. So I guess for me, it came down to having almost 100% control over my decision making. That, to me, it was probably, I didn't realize that until you asked me, it's probably the most freeing thing in my life. Is like, I've been a guy that's tried to be the good guy, try to work hard, try to make some money, try to do the right thing, try to prove I'm not a failure. And then all of a sudden, when I've had a little bit of success and a little bit of control, I am fighting. I will do everything in my power to not give up that control. I fight it every day. If I give up that control because I have to work for someone or I have to do something, and there are going to be times where I do, and there are times when I have to do. But overall, if I'm in control, man, freedom is happiness. And right now, I have to work. I have to make a living. I have to pay my mortgage. But I have the ability to decide how I do that. And that freedom is just it's a drug.
Yeah.
Does that make sense?
No, it definitely makes sense. So when you have bad thoughts, or for me, when I'm trying to get into the zone, particularly before getting on the microphone or on stage, I find I get inordinately tired, and sometimes I get I don't feel right in my body. I just feel like something is off, not wrong. Just
physically,
off.
or is your mental? Are your thoughts are manifesting themselves physically?
That's exactly right. Maybe, or maybe I just haven't drank enough water and I'm a little dehydrated.
Did you ever try to jump before you go on stage?
As a matter of fact, yes, I do that very often.
I
will
do that
stretch
all the time.
and I will jump, and sometimes there's no place to do it behind the stage, and I'll go out into the hallway and I'll do it, and people will laugh at me, make fun of me. I'm like, I don't care, because I'm getting my heart rate up. I'm feeling good. I'm stretching it out so I won't feel tight on stage. Right. And all of those things help me when I get to, quote unquote, the show, to be able to perform best, because I'm not worrying and thinking about, I've got this little muscle ache, or I'm not feeling this particular way.
Yeah, when I have to do something that requires a lot of focus and concentration, and I'm going to be in the public eye, I don't have to work out right before I do it. I only have to work out the same day. But probably the day before, or maybe the morning of, I have to work out because my body has got to take over my anxiety. So if my body is exhausted in a good way and my endorphins are going, I'm not really thinking. And that kind of tricks my brain. It just gives me something else to focus on. So that's worked for me. But I think in general terms, I think... I'm not a write down my goals and do it. I'm a write down my goals in my brain and do it. So a lot of people have to do pros and cons and have to do goal setting and all that stuff and visualization. I just personally have decided that the way I focus is breathing and gratitude. Those are my two secrets.
Right. So, we're almost talking about two different things here. How to find success within yourself in the long term, but also on the micro level. How are you dealing with today? Because every single day can either be really super easy or tremendous struggle, or for most of us, somewhere in between.
But isn't that just, again, there's a filter in your brain.
Right.
And a lot of people, and again, this is over a period of a long time, I just decide to filter it in my positive side of my brain.
That's right.
And because, again, getting back to control, the second I let that negativity get to me, I give that control. And being and as I get older, I am obsessively controlling. Not in my family, but in the way I go about my life. I've become a little crazy about the way I decide and choose to run my business. And I'm just, so long term, I want to keep control. Short term, I do that by breathing and by not allowing negative energy to affect me. Because once I do, I've allowed you to win. That's what it comes down to.
Right. Yeah, absolutely.
Man, you really figured out me psychologically. You won and I lost.
Right.
I don't like that.
Yeah, no, I don't. So, I really want people to focus on their state of being on a day-to-day basis. What are some of those things that you do? Take an outside look in. There are a lot of habits that you might be engaged in that you need to actively think about, like Anthony was talking about, recognizing something and then learning what the triggers are. And then when that trigger does happen, react differently than you have been reacting up till now.
And whatever you need to do to react to trigger that, like I use it as, I'm not going to give that son of a bitch control. I'm not going to give that person control. I'm not going to give that thing control. And that may be a negative thing. It's like, well, Anthony, don't get angry about that. No, I have to in order to be positive.
Right.
I need to say I am not going to go back at that person, and that person's going to get theirs one day to give myself control. Well, Anthony, they're people, and they didn't really mean it. And, you have to just have a little bit. No, that person's an asshole, and that's okay. And I'm not going to let that person's actions define me.
Right.
So you can go your way and say, he's God's child and he's a wonderful person. Okay, that's great. I don't look at it that way. It's like, I just don't want you to control me.
Right.
And that's just my kind of, I don't know, Brooklyn way of looking at it.
Yeah. Yeah. I like it. Any more advice that you want to share with the listeners?
I don't really want to give any advice outside of just be kind, man. This world is just crazy, and if we need to have differences of opinions for this world to work, and again, we're the youngest country with the oldest constitution, so we must be doing something right because the other countries can't figure it out. Everybody can have their opinion, and they can have really strong opinions, but doesn't mean you have to have hatred. And I think that there's way too much of that today. And so I just choose love and respect and gratitude, even when I think the person's, out of their friggin' mind in their opinions, because who the hell am I?
Right.
We all come to life differently, and we all come to our opinions differently.
Right.
I love, I like hunting, but I don't like killing anything. So I'll go hunting. I haven't been hunting in a long time. I may be going hunting soon. But I'm not going to kill anything. I'm going to go in the woods. I'm going to have a gun in my hand. I'm going to sit in a tree, and I'm going to watch the animal go right in front of me, and I'm going to wave to him. Right. But I ain't going to shoot him.
Yeah.
But I love the feeling of being in the woods, and I love being outdoors, and I love seeing nature. So that gets me that. But I'm never going to shoot an animal ever in my life. That doesn't mean a person that shoots an animal and kills an animal for food is a bad person, because we go into the supermarket and we buy meat. That person that shot it and then ate it, there's nothing wrong with that. I choose not to. So I'm not going to hate that person.
Well, how could you? I mean, because we all do that.
No, but what I'm saying is that's
I know what you're saying.
People just become
right.
Well, they're hunters.
Hunters are bad.
It's like you're eating a steak, bro.
Yeah, right.
Like, what are you talking about?
Right.
Like, I don't want to be a hunter because I don't want to close my eyes at night and see that deer's face in my eye.
I could not be able to do it. I was joking around. Someone asked me to go hunting, and I said I like my relationship with food to go to the supermarket and have it be in a piece of cellophane. Really,
right. I enjoy that.
Yeah, I enjoy that because my wife doesn't want to eat a lot of foods now because she saw cute lambs, and now she doesn't want to ever eat lamb again.
Yeah, and that's
because
okay.
Of it. Yeah.
Listen, everything is okay as long as you don't hurt me.
Yeah, right.
Stay in your lane, I'll stay in mine, and I think that's the way the world should be.
Right.
And when you see somebody struggling, man, just throw down a hand and just try to lift people up. And I'm not great. I don't do a lot of the charity events that I should do, and I don't do a lot of things that I should do. But whatever's in my lane, man, I'm just going to be kind to it. I'm just going to let them get back in their lane, and I'm going to help people. And that's just it.
Right.
And that's not like this guy who's dropping acid and just like everybody sing Kumbaya. It's just this life is effing hard. So if you don't give into it and you just don't let the process take fold and then just breathe and have gratitude for every single thing that happens. I there's something that just happened the other day with my daughter. She was very upset about it. I can cry right now about it but I just have to know that thing is something she's got to deal with.
Right. And it's got to suck because that's something that happened to her that happens to all people.
And being control freak, you want to fix it.
And you can't protect your kids from the fact that there's life out there and stuff is happening out there. And
my first initial reaction was this, like, I wanted to fix that problem.
Right.
And the way I would fix the problem would get my daughters would
not help.
She would hate me. It's like if you look at what's going on in what happened with the college, getting these kids in, paying money, and getting these kids into college, and you see Felicity Huffman or whatever, she went to jail, whatever. She's going to come back because she is owning it.
Yep.
She made a mistake. So if you break it down, she was wrong. It's horrific that she's taking a spot in a school that somebody else worked hard for. So what she did was terrible. But what did she do it from? She did it from love. Some people can say, well, she did it from privilege and she wanted her money to do the work. Okay, whatever you want to do. But at the end of the day, she did it out of love and she wanted her daughter or her son to be successful.
Right.
She went to jail. She was humiliated. And somebody said the other day on TMZ, one of those voting things, like, hey, would you go see a Felicity Huffman movie or show? And 85% of the people said yes. And I think because she did a bad thing, she took responsibility for it, and she let the process wash over her instead of trying to control the process and just saying, okay, this is bad. I've been humiliated. Just go with it. Whereas the other person, that other celebrity, is fighting it. I think she's going to have a much tougher time getting back into show business because she's fighting it tooth and nail. And I think the way she's handling it is the exact opposite of the way Felicity Huffman.
And the fact of the matter is,
you know what I'm talking about, right?
Yeah, I know exactly. You're talking about Lori Loughlin.
Right.
The fact of the matter is, people will forget. But the longer you drag it on, and your name is continued to be negatively associated with those particular actions, the longer it's going to hurt you.
And you know what? Also, when you say, "Oh my God, I screwed up. That was terrible,"
people
I take
love you
full
more.
responsibility. I'm going to go to jail. They're going to say, "There, by the grace of God, go I." If you ask me right now, did she do the wrong thing? 100%. But if you ask me, did a lot of parents do stuff like that? And would a lot of parents do it? Yes. Would I do it? I wouldn't do it. And the reason I wouldn't do it because I know the consequence. The consequence is if my daughter found out, she would never talk to me again. So I'm not going to do it. Simply not because I'm the greatest person in the world and not because I wouldn't want to do it. It's because I would never, ever do something like that could give my daughter reason to hate me.
Right. Yeah. Wow. I don't know how we got on this topic.
No, but it's interesting.
Yeah, but it is interesting.
Just talk about how you deal with life.
Yeah.
Like Felicity Huffman is on top. She's she's married to Grace, what's his name, Macy, the actor. They have a great life. And then all of a sudden they're enemy number one. They're like, oh my God, they can't believe they did this. These celebrity pieces of crap. They think they're so entitled. She takes the hit. She does it well. She does her jail time. She says, I suck. I'll suck less tomorrow. I'm going back to work.
Yeah.
How do you be mad at that?
Yeah. I mean, hey, look at Martha Stewart. People don't even remember she was in jail for a long time.
I don't like Martha Stewart because I don't like Martha Stewart. Not because she did what she did. Right? When I watch her, I just don't find her very, transparent. When she hangs out with Snoop Dogg, I like her.
I was about to say, I do want to see the show with her.
Yeah. When she watched, because then I was like, oh, maybe she is a real person. So anyway, I just think transparency with yourself allows you to be transparent with other people.
Right.
Does that make sense?
No, that definitely makes sense. And being transparent with yourself also allows you to get more in tune with physical manifestations of your emotional life as well, which takes us back to what I was saying at the beginning. Some days everything comes easy and effortlessly when I'm on the microphone or on stage. Some days it's a lot more work because I'm feeling human.
You know, it's so funny because somebody said to me not too long ago, it's like, hey, I love your podcast. I said, thank you very much. And they're like, you guys are a great combination. I say, I know, because I just kind of go off on things. And then, Glenn is really smart and smarter than me and really is able to ask and hone in on really good questions with really with an understandable outcome. Like you want to hear what the outcome will be from the question that he asked because it's interesting. And they were like, don't be hard on yourself. So I'm not being hard on myself. He has better questions than I do, and they're more thoughtful, and I like that. Maybe I can respond better than Glenn. I don't know if I do or I don't. But I have my strengths, you have your strengths.
Right.
And I'm being transparent with myself that I think you ask more intelligent and better questions than I do. That is not being hard on myself. That is being true to why this podcast works.
Right. Well, and I definitely appreciate you saying that, and I don't necessarily
now he's gotta give me a
agree
compliment.
with
Here
that
comes a- now
assessment.
here comes a
And I
compliment.
told you this before off the microphone that sometimes I sit back and go, "Wow, he's asking questions I never would have thought
Right.
of."
But my point being is when people say don't be hard on yourself.
Right. Don't be.
It's like it's me saying that Glenn may ask questions, or Glenn's smarter than me, or Glenn knows words I don't know, or Glenn uses words that I never even thought about using in a sentence. That doesn't make him better than me. That makes him smarter than me in that instance. I'm smarter than you in a lot of instances. You're smarter than me in a lot of instances.
Right.
But I think being transparent with yourself, it's not like, oh my God, he's using that word. What do I do? I don't want to tell anybody I didn't know that word. It's like, dude, I'm not 20 years old anymore.
Right.
20 years old, I would have said that. 30 years old, I would have said that. I'm 54 years old anymore. If you use a word I don't know, I'm going to look it up on the internet and try to figure it out. And I think that time. That's why, when they say wisdom is you wish you had wisdom when you were 12, right?
Yeah.
I have wisdom at 54. Mm-hmm. That shit could have helped when I was 20.
Oh my God!
It's like money. That shit could have helped when I was 20. It would have been a lot easier.
I just think about if I had my brain now, we could go back 20, 30 years. What a difference it would
But
make.
it's funny because you have your brain now, and maybe you have a little bit more money. We have a little bit more money than we did when we were 20. Imagine if we had our brain that we have now with money that we have, where I don't know if that would be a good thing. I think not having money allows you to be hungry,
right,
and allows you to fight more, and allows you to be vulnerable more, and you learn all those hard lessons. Because if you have the money back then and things are easy, not that I still have to make money, but when your life depends on making sure your boss doesn't fire you, you really get a lot of skills. Mm-hmm. And then when you get older and you have more freedom, you appreciate it more because you're like, shit.
Right.
When you were 20, you had to take shit from people.
Yeah, and it's funny
because you needed to eat.
And to relate that to an observation I have about the entertainment industry, a lot of times I've seen with musicians or comedians do their best work earliest in their career when they're hungry and there's some sort of adversity. Sure. Once you get on that easy living kind of thing, and you don't have the same set of challenges as you did predominantly around the financial aspect of it, I think it kind of changes everything.
I tell you, it hit me in where I went from having no assistant being a general manager to having assistants, and I've had an assistant for the last 20 years basically. I don't know how to do Excel anymore. I don't know how to really type a strong letter anymore. No, that's not true. I can type a strong letter. I don't enjoy it anymore. I don't enjoy the minutia of doing hard work sometimes, office work. Whereas I used to be an administrator for the Air Force. I used to be a secretary. I'm really good at friggin' being a secretary. You need a secretary, dude? There is no secretary better than me.
Well, one of my friends has been telling me I should hire somebody. Maybe you're available.
Yeah, maybe I am. But dude, I was the best busboy and secretary on planet Earth.
That's
right?
awesome.
But I could not do any of those now because I'm spoiled.
Right.
So my point being is, yes, having an assistant is fantastic, but it weakens me a little bit. And I have to fight myself to not be weakened because, yes, when you do have a little bit more comfort, it becomes comfortable.
Yeah, what a fun conversation.
And for those people that are struggling and people that maybe are tired or whatever, I'm going to tell you this. Grab whatever couple dollars you can get together. So if you have $1,000 that you can just kind of burn.
Right.
If you're fortunate enough to be in that situation, and you're not rich by any stretch of the imagination, but you got a little bit of FU money that you can play with.
Right.
Go book a really nice hotel. Mm-hmm. Maybe not even New York.
Maybe the Garden City Hotel.
Right, the Garden City, or maybe even in a B city or C city where the rates are cheaper.
Right.
And stay at a 5-star hotel for 2 days. Mm-hmm. It brings you back to when you were born and everything you dreamed of being. Mm-hmm. When you are staying at a 5-star hotel and the food is better and the sheets are better and the spa is better, and it just helps you recharge. And I allow myself to do that once in a while. I can't afford to do that all the time, but I do it once in a while. And that helps me reset myself.
Mm-hmm.
And it gives me something a little present. So I think people have to give themselves presents a little bit.
Yeah, I agree. We need to do a little bit more compassion for ourselves and what our basic
Compassion
human
for
needs are.
ourselves. So what the hell's the title of this podcast? Because I have no idea what we're talking
I have no idea. I thought it was going to be all about finding your zone in the moment, but
I
this
think
is
we
going-
did.
Yeah,
Look,
but
if you
I was going
say-
to say it was that and so much more.
If you say, how do you find your zone in the moment? I say, I breathe and find gratitude.
Yep.
That prevents me from wanting to punch the guy that cut me off in the face.
Yep.
Okay. Although, ask me. Let's end the show and say, tell
Yeah.
me something I don't know.
All right, you ready to move on to that? All right,
Yes.
Anthony, tell me something I don't know.
My daughter reminded me she has strep, so we went to the doctor the other day, and she goes, "Dad, remember when you were really sick and you went to the doctor, and the guy took your parking space, and you looked like you were going to get really, really angry. Instead, you started giggling, and you got out of the car, and then you spit on his handle, and after he walked away, you literally spit on his door handle. Do you remember that?" I said, "Yeah." She goes, "That was like kind of cool and mean at the same time." It's like, that was like, I was like, well, and with myself, I could have got out and got into confrontation with the guy.
Right.
And taught my daughter a bad lesson and showed confrontation. And God forbid the guy hits me, or I have to hit the guy because he's going to, say, hit me first in front of my daughter. That would have been horrible. But on the other hand, I spit on his handle when I was sick, and hopefully he would get sick.
Right.
That's just as bad as a lesson. But my daughter remembered it, and she's like, "But the reason I'm saying that is because in that moment I knew I couldn't hit the guy,
Right.
and I knew I couldn't yell at the guy because I was in front of my daughter, and I was really upset. And even if I wasn't in front of my daughter, I wouldn't have done that. But I needed to let him know that he's a son of a bitch.
Right.
So by spitting on his door handle made me feel better. Now, if you think less of me because of that, I apologize.
That's all right.
So tell us something we don't know.
All right, so probably 15 years ago or so, I had a situation, and it all worked out. I went out. I was in Las Vegas, and I went out with some people. We went out 9, 10 o'clock at night or whatever.
Strip club?
No, I don't think so. Honestly, I have no interest in
Me either.
in that.
I've never
I
been to
just
one
find out
in
like
Vegas.
they're like lap dance factories and stuff like that. Want to dance? Want to dance?
I didn't mean to interrupt you. Go
No, there's
ahead.
nothing fun or interesting, nothing that plays into fantasy with that. But I was out. I was in Las Vegas. I was having fun with my friends. Went out, no big deal. More drinks. It got later. Next thing I know, it's 6 a.m, and I've got to be on stage at 8 a.m. and it's now 6 a.m. So I managed to make my way back to the hotel by 7. Jumped in the shower, showered, went downstairs, went up on stage, moderated a panel, made it through, kicked ass. I have no idea how I did it. Went back to my room afterwards and passed out. I woke up from that and said, Glenn, it's time to be more responsible. It's time to start creating some rules. There's a way that you can balance enjoying yourself, but putting your career first. So I started incorporating a lot of different rules in my life that I find have been very valuable guides in order for me to make sure that I can perform at my best at all times while still allowing myself to enjoy myself when it's appropriate.
Yeah, because as we get older, we get wiser, right?
Yep.
And that's I think that's true for everyone that you. But again, you have to have that moment to learn from it, right?
Right, absolutely. And I just am blessed in the sense that I didn't totally F something up.
Yeah.
I made it through.
I
And I was able to say, oh, close call, man. Don't do it again. Make some changes.
Again, I went to my first day of training at Tishman. I had to go to Chicago and I had to sit in on an asset management meeting with the gentleman that runs the Tishman assets in Chicago.
Right.
And my best friend Russell, Herbie Hooks, met me in Chicago, and I said, we're not going out tonight because I have to do this thing in the morning. He goes, no problem. So we had dinner, going back to our hotel room, and all of a sudden we saw a bar, and I said, hey, let's go there for a drink. 17 drinks later, and
Right.
a lot of just talking and having fun. We were just talking and having fun. And at 6 o'clock in the morning, I wound up in front of my hotel room. I've never told this story before. I threw up. I went upstairs. I took a shower. I must have reeked like alcohol.
Right, of
Went
course.
to the meeting.
Yep.
was listening to the gentleman. I can't remember his name, but if he's listening to this, now he knows. And he was doing a great job. Really smart guy. I think he still got the gig. And about an hour in, I excused myself. I said, I had food poisoning. I'll be back. I went upstairs. I took 3 more showers, jumped up and down, threw cold water all over myself, and just begged that I would be able to get a meeting. About an hour or two later, I got back in the meeting, and I went through that day, and it was the worst day of my corporate career ever. And I was like, that will never happen again.
Right. Because what's the point?
Oh, it was horrible.
It's just not.
And that was almost the best gig I've ever had.
Right.
Working as a vice president of Tishman was good for my career, good for my resume, good for my bank account. And these people were serious people.
Right.
And I was like, holy shit, I can't do this ever again.
Right. Now, we all make stupid mistakes like that, but it's a matter of learning from them. And when it starts to interrupt your entire life, then maybe you might have a real situation that you need to take care of. Right.
When people ask you your name and you don't know it, that's time to start paying attention.
And I know way too many people, because I live a lot on the road. I'm on the road 100 plus nights a year, 125, 150, whatever it might be, depending on the year. And I see the same people doing the same things night after night, year after year, decade after decade, staying up way too late, drinking way too much, doing things that they shouldn't be doing, and then it affects them the next day. And I always wonder, when are these people, if they're ever going to learn their lessons and realize what they might have missed out on, what opportunities they not be able to take?
You know what fascinates me?
Yeah.
You know when you get over your skis, right? When you're skiing, if you get over your skis, that means you're going to fall and break your head. But in drinking, when you get over your skis, where your mouth is moving and you know you're being that guy, like I am being that guy right now.
Yeah.
And you continue to drink and continue to be that guy.
Yeah.
Like I learned early on, when I'm about to be that guy, I stopped drinking and drinking a lot of water because I'm like realizing that's the guy I make fun of.
Right. Yeah, totally. And you've got to also know just when to pull the plug, right? When you should
But
say goodbye or when to ghost.
Have you ever been to the point where you're like,
yeah,
I'm becoming that guy?
Of course we've all been there. And
Oh
it
my
would be
God.
foolish to think that we weren't there. I mean, I like to have fun. I like to enjoy myself. I like to
I've
be
never seen you
social.
drunk at the conference.
Because you
Ever.
won't.
And you'll never see me.
No, because you won't.
Well, we're going to Vegas, and we're going to have a couple days there, and let's prove it to each other that I can get more drunk than you.
Yeah. Let's do it, and then we could create a special podcast.
Right. So, all right. So, where can we find you on the internet?
All right. You can find me everywhere at Traveling Glenn. And, of course, hey, take a moment, like our checking in page on Facebook. And also, if you can, follow us, follow the No Vacancy News channel.
And ask us a damn question.
Main channel. What question?
Ask us a damn question.
Yeah, ask us some questions, send us some notes. Let us know what you want to hear on our show. We'd love to hear it. You could drop me a line on our Facebook pages, LinkedIn pages, at Traveling Glenn. Anthony, how can we find you, sir?
You can find the
microphone
me.
just kind of dropped out of the way there for a second.
You can find me anywhere you want to be on the internet at Anthony Hotels. So for Glenn, this is Anthony. Thanks for
checking in.
It's checking in with Anthony and Glenn, teaching you to be the hotelier that you wanna be. It's checking in with Anthony and Glenn.